Neal here, Artistic Director and Conductor of your Dayton Philharmonic with a piano bench chat for December 2023, the last month of the year. And that was the last notes of the last fugue of the Bach Well-Tempered Clavier, second book. If you've been watching piano bench chats for a very long time, you'll remember that this started all the way back in the COVID shutdown era when I went back to the piano and started what a friend of mine calls my daily musical hygiene of playing music at the piano to keep myself connected to music at a time, during the shutdown when there was no music that I could do with the orchestra. And during those first days of the shutdown, I came up with this plan of working my way through Bach's Well-Tempered Clavier, one piece at a time every day. And the Well-Tempered Clavier, if you might remember, if you've been watching all this long, consists of a series of preludes and fugues in each of the 12 major and minor keys. So there are 12 keys, C, C sharp, major and minor for each note, so that's 24 altogether. And for each key, Bach wrote in that key a prelude and a fugue. So it's 48 pieces, and then he wrote 2 books. So it's a total of 90, can I do the math? 48, 96 pieces of music. So at the beginning of the shutdown, I started at the beginning and day by day worked my way through all 96, and I was playing other pieces as well, other music of Bach, some Bach chorales, and then I worked my way through other things. But when I finished the Well-Tempered Clavier, because it really is kind of this Bible of Western music and Western keyboard music, when I got to the end, I went back to the beginning. And I may have done this cycle twice, but then I thought, I should really spend a little more time on this piece, these pieces, not just sight read through them and make plenty of mistakes and blast my way through. So I started a new cycle when I started at the very beginning, and I spent a week on each piece. So that would be 96 weeks, but it actually ended up being longer than 96 weeks because there were some vacations when I wasn't around and wasn't doing a piano. And then last fall, I got COVID, and that sort of knocked me sideways for a few days. And then I got better and just was in incredibly busy period of time in the fall. But recently, in the last couple of weeks, I got back to the system. And there I was playing the very last page of the Well-Tempered Clavier. And it's just an amazing experience. I know I've talked about this before. When you're playing this music, you kind of feel both like you're in Johann Sebastian Bach's head, but you also kind of feel like he's in your head and he's telling your fingers, even if they're semi-incompetent like mine, what to do. And it's just an amazing experience of a musician who's alive and a musician who's long dead having this kind of connection. And in a way, that happens for me every time I study a score. Just this past week, I've been spending a lot of time working on John Williams' score to Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, the first movie in the Harry Potter series, which the Dayton Philharmonic will be presenting early in February. And it's early in December, but I've been working on it for quite some time already because it's a long score, 538 pages, I think, and lots of music to learn, and of course, all the synchronization of the film and the music. But during that period of time for several days when I was working on the score and marking it up, I sort of had John Williams in my head, which is a different place than having Johann Sebastian Bach in your head, but still it's an interesting one. And seeing how John Williams works with his music and thinks about his themes and puts it all together and makes it work with the film, because as I was working on each individual number, I was also watching the film and working back and forth. It's this crazy study system that I have. Every conductor has their own way of learning scores. And my way is, especially with complicated things, is I work on it very intensely for a period of time, and then I put it down and put it away and don't think about it and work on other things. And then a few weeks later, maybe in a few months later, I'll come back to it, pick it up again, work on it very intensely for a period of time, and then put it down. And gradually it kind of gets into my mind in a way that works for my own way of learning music. So I worked very intensely for a few days on John Williams. I put him down. I think I'm going to start up again probably tomorrow, working my way through the Harry Potter score again. But that creates this idea of a cycle. And of course, the Bach thing is a cycle too. So you're probably wondering what I'm going to do next. Well, of course, what I'm going to do next would be some stuff for the Dayton Performing Arts Alliance. We have Nutcrackers coming up, and then Messiah, wonderful time of the year, some of my favorite pieces of music, and I hope if you're close by to Dayton, you can join us for one or both or all of those things if you're a real Nutcracker nut like me. Speaking of that, I added up all the times I've conducted Nutcracker with Dayton Ballet since we merged the ballet and the Philharmonic and the opera together to form the Dayton Performing Arts Alliance. And so far, it's exactly 90 performances, which means when we finish this December run, it'll be 98 performances. And then something interesting happens, because this is the last year of the current production of Dayton Ballet Nutcracker. Next year, we'll have a brand new production, new choreography, new sets, new costumes, everything. And our new artistic director, Brandon Ragland, will be assembling that. I know Brandon's working on that right now. So it's really it's been this cycle of Nutcrackers for all these years, and it's coming to an end. And of course, next year, we go back to the beginning of Nutcracker. So what am I going to do now that I'm at the end of Johann Sebastian Bach's Well-Tempered Clavier, Book 2, finishing this cycle that I've been doing for a very long time? Well, if you're someone who knows James Joyce's Finnegan's Wake, and I've never read it, I've read bits of it, you know what happens at the end of Finnegan's Wake. Or if you're like me, a big fan of Stephen King and his Dark Tower series, and I have read the entire Dark Tower series, I've not read Finnegan's Wake. But you know what's going to happen when I get to the end of the Well-Tempered Clavier, and it's this. We go back to the beginning. Have a wonderful month of December. As my Aunt Fritzy used to say, happy, happy everything.